Welcome in to Wager Talk's Last Call, the brand new show here at WagerTalk TV, where we interact with the audience. It's your chance to get in the chat, go in, ask questions that you have for some of the best handicappers that'll be joining us. I'm Meghan Payton. I'm going to be joined by Ralph Michaels coming on. He's going to be first. We got Andy Lang, we got Carmine Bianco coming on. So if you have any NHL questions, get in right now because Carl will be talking about NHL. But without further ado, let's bring on best of the best, which is Ralph Michaels. I'm happy to have you on. Thanks for joining us here at Last Call.
Hey, Megan, thanks. What a great crew. Gotta love Andy and his props, and finishing up with Carmen, the NHL. I'm going to talk a little NBA and college hoops for Thursday night, so we've got it pretty much all covered.
And in between each guest, we'll go through some of the line movements, what's been happening on the market today. Ralph, before we get into some of your bets that you're looking at, anything you'd like to promo up at WagerTalk.com?
You got about an hour left. If you're watching live, I have a 4-game package. An NBA game week, an NHL play, 2 college hoops plays, $29. Check it out, WagerTalk.com. And make sure, if you're an NBA fan, check out my Twitter daily, @CalSportsLV. I put out the WagerTalk NBA stat sheet. It's a quick guide that breaks down the season, home and away, and the last 2 weeks, home and away. The NBA by far, I think, is the streakiest sport where you can catch those teams that are hot versus catching those teams that are cold.
Ralph, the great thing about what you do for everyone here at Wager Talk is not only the bets and the picks that you give out, but it's the actual approach to handicapping. And what I love of what you offer to your customers is you teach them how to win on like a daily base. You've got these trends and angles. And so leading into what you're looking at tonight, how does that affect and change for future bets? What are you looking at, and what streaks are you looking at? I guess is the better way to say that.
Well, we're going to talk about situations, and for those that follow the TNA segment I Bet On It, you know that we talk about situations, home and away, favorites and dogs, off losses and situations, off upset wins. And while you never want to base a play solely on a trend or a system, the difference is this, Megan, and for any new bettors out there, a trend or an angle is pretty much team specific. Ohio State is 9-2 as a favorite. This team is this as an away dog. But when you have a system, it is league-wide. So it's proven over multiple years, and teams in this situation have had success. So to me, by far, a system is much stronger than a team, trend, or angle.
Ralph, here's a good question coming in from the chat from Ghosted. Any NBA betting tips approaching games with star players missing?
I have not found the secret recipe, or else I'd be rich and not be hovering around where I am in the NBA. I will say this. I don't mind playing against a player that is injured in the first game. Often, teams rally around that injured player, be it a quarterback, be it a star player in the NBA. But the situations now when you don't know if a player is playing and all of a sudden he gets benched at the last minute, or he doesn't want to play because of a player load or time management, then, that's a different situation. And there's really no way to know, because you don't know when the players figured it out that he wasn't playing. Did the coach come to him in the beginning of the day and say, listen, we're not going to announce this till later, but he is not playing. Let's prepare without him. Or sometimes it may be a shock as it's a last minute, he's warming up and doesn't go. So I don't think there's a secret recipe for that. But if a player is injured, I never mind playing on that team as they gel around their leader for that first game.
Ralph, I just want to shout out to 19-8 run on your NFL 5% plays. I'm seeing a few questions here in the chat right now about the playoffs this weekend. Anything that you're going to eye in that game? I know you're looking mostly NBA college, but just wanted to get your quick thoughts on NFL.
Well, I'll just say this. I posted a 4% play earlier this week, but I couldn't sell it because I grabbed Cincinnati plus the 1. And I grabbed the 49ers plus the 2.5. And I actually did a 7-point teaser where you have to lay the 140, but it got Cincinnati plus 8. It got San Fran plus 9.5. So it's not available for sale because the line parameters have moved. But when it's the playoffs, there's oftentimes I fire away early, and that's always the advantage of being an all-access customer. As soon as any of the cappers here at WagerTalk, Andy, Carl, and myself load a play, you get it immediately, so you are aware of what the current line is, and we want you to bet it at that time.
One last question, Ralph, I have in the chat that I think is a good one is when to back a team that's on a winning streak. Now, maybe you have different approaches, whether that's NBA, college, NFL. What's your outlook on winning teams with a streak?
Two different thought processes, Megan. The first is, if it is a popular team that is on a 5-game win streak and has covered all 5 games, Vegas is going to adjust very quickly. So if it's more than 3 or 4 games in, I will not jump on it unless I don't think the line has moved. I base it on my power ratings, look at where the value is. Oftentimes, you're paying a premium for those teams on a hot streak. But when you have a team that's 500 or a losing team, and they are on a great ATS run, I never have a problem jumping on it. Utah jumps to my mind in college basketball. They're like 5-5 their last 10 games. They're 9-1 or an 8-2 ATS run. So when I have a team that's 500 or losing that gets on a great ATS run, I don't think it's ever too late to jump onto it. When you have a very popular TV team or a top 25 team that gets on a quick run, you'll see how quickly the Vegas books adjust. So I don't tend to do that nearly as often.
All right, Ralph, we got a lot of shout outs in the comments, and I think people want to see the pin. So can we pause everything because this is what really matters? Give the people what they want.
We had the meet and greet in Vegas, and I gave them out. So I'll tell you what, maybe next week here on the show, the first 50 people that respond to us, I'll mail them out a pen, in the next week or two. So stay tuned to the show next week, and we'll do something fun to give away some pens.
That's great. All right. Any specific games that you want to talk about before we let you go, Ralph? Anything that you're eyeing on this? What is today? Thursday night.
Just to let you know, I did not bet either of these teams, but I want to break through a system in college basketball and a system in the NBA, which have both been very successful for a long period of time. I'm not worried if something went 3-0, 4-0, did good one year, did poorly the next. But this situation in college basketball, going all the way back to 2014, has hit 69.5%. And it's an ugly system. Listen, Monmouth, game 765. They're getting 16 points against NC Wilmington today. I understand they're 1-19 straight up. They're on a 1-8 ATS run. But the system tells us this. The opponent is off a win. That's something very important to note when you're laying at double digits. If you have a feisty opponent that's off a loss, I tend not to play on them so much. So there's an opponent off a win, like NC Wilmington is. Monmouth was actually a favorite in their last game. Even though they're 1-18 straight up when they played it, they were a favorite and they lost by 15 or more. And now they're an away dog of 11.5 or more. So Monmouth lost as a favorite by 15 plus. Monmouth getting over 11.5, and NC Wilmington won that game. Those teams, 69.5% taking the ugly dog, game 765, Monmouth. And we're going to look at one more situation in the NBA. This is actually an over-under situation. The record is 53-104 going back to 2019. That's 34.6% to the over or 65.4% to the under. And it's pretty simple. It applies to game 507 and 508. Cleveland and Houston under the total. What it says is this. If the team lost as an away favorite as 2 or more, and now they're on the road either as a favorite or a small dog up until 4.5. So the Cavs lost as an away favorite of 2 or more. Now they're on the road and they are a favorite, or if they're a small dog up to 4.5. 53 overs, 100 unders and 4 pushes, 157 game sample size, 4 years of data, a strong under system. Game 507, 508, Cavs and Rockets under the total.
Ralph Michaels, we appreciate you here at WagerTalk TV. The pen is back. Go over to WagerTalk.com and check out Ralph Michaels' 5% NFL play. He's on a 19-8 NFL 5% play streak. We appreciate you coming on last call. It's a great new show, and we're lucky to have you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Meghan.
All right, we're going to bring Andy Lang on here in a second, but I want to go through some of the line movements and just some of the bigger games that are on the slate for tonight. Quickly in the NBA, we've got the Cleveland Cavs at the Houston Rockets. Cavs are right now a 9-point favorite. It opened at 7.5. We've seen this shift a little bit. 219.5 is the total. Cavs coming off a last-second loss to the Knicks on Tuesday. Meanwhile, the Rockets have only won 2 games of their last 21. 7:40 p.m. Eastern, we'll have the Detroit Pistons at Brooklyn Nets. Nets are an 8.5-point favorite, opened at a 7.5. You can get it some books still Nets 9, but it's moving a little bit back to 8.5 for Brooklyn. In college basketball, we got Purdue at Michigan. Purdue the line hasn't moved too much, but Purdue's still a 4.5-point favorite. More bets on Purdue. There's bigger money on Michigan for that one. UCLA at USC, a Pac-12 Western big match that always competitive when these two take on. UCLA opened as a 5-point favorite, and now we're seeing UCLA 4.5. 77% of the money, though, on USC, 52% of the tickets on USC as well. We'll talk a little bit more NHL here in a bit. But let's bring on the prop god, which is Andy Lang. Andy Lang, thank you for joining us here on Last Call. Uh-oh, you're muted, Andy.
Is that better? Is
There we
that
go.
better?
We got you, Andy.
Okay.
Yep, we're here. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's crazy. 3 NFL games left in the season. I can't believe it. So we only
Right?
got a few more games to go over. We do not have any UFC this weekend, but we have plenty of NBA, NHL. But as you know, my focus is on the NFL and the props. I know you do as well. We both were on Wager Talk today, and we talked about some props. So excited to finish off this NFL season real strong in the prop market.
Well, as Andy's going to give out a prop bet for you guys right now, I want you to go in the comments and go into the live chat, ask any questions that we can follow up Andy with. But I heard you've got a same game parlay that you're looking at in the NFC side.
Yeah, let's do a same game parlay. These have actually been really good. We have not lost a same game parlay for clients at Wager Talk. We just started recently adding them, and they've done really well. And I'm hoping to get your blessing on this, Meghan. I think I will, because this is right up right up our alley. So I'm going to start with Jalen Hurts to have 1+ touchdown. So this is a same game parlay you can find on the domestic books. It's called a parlay plus on Barstool. So we'll take the alt line on Jalen Hurts to have a passing touchdown. This is going to be a theme in this same game parlay. You can pass on the 49ers. Very difficult to run. They've allowed less than 4 yards a carry in the playoffs. 8 straight quarterbacks have thrown a touchdown against this 49ers team. DK Metcalf had a big game against the secondary. CeeDee Lamb had a big game against a secondary. So I expect A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert to do well. And surely Jalen Hurts is going to have at least 1 touchdown pass. I'm going to also lower his passing attempts, and I'm going to take 30+ passing attempts. These are correlated, obviously. He's going to throw the ball quite a bit. I think 4 straight games dating back to the regular season, he's gone over 30+ pass attempts. I do expect that they are going to run the ball, at least some. You got to keep the defense a little bit honest. But once they start seeing the success in the passing game, I think it's going to open up. And the other thing, Meghan, we have to be worried about these pass attempts sometime if we have a game script that is a blowout and a team runs the ball. I just don't see a blowout in this one on either side. I don't see the Eagles being in a position where they're running out the clock because they're up 3 scores late. I don't see a situation where Jalen Hurts is not passing. I loved last week that he did not have to do much. It's almost another week to get his shoulder healthy. I think he's coming in at 100% health. Ward is a great corner, really good cover guy, but the 49ers leave him on an absolute island. I think they'd pick on him quite a bit. So I'm going to go Jalen Hurts over 1 passing touchdown. Jalen Hurts passing attempts at 30+. And then I've loved the Philadelphia Eagles total points in the first half. We've cashed this all season long. I only need over 5.5 points to add to this parlay. This is the number one scoring team in the first half. They average 18 points per game in the first half of these games. So I only need 2 field goals or 1 touchdown to cash this one. And that ends up at even money on DK right now. So Jalen Hurts, 1+ touchdown pass. Jalen Hurts, 30+ passing attempts. And the Eagles to get to 6 points or more in the first half pays even money on the domestic books.
Andy Lang, I love that same game parlay. You are speaking my language. I've been saying for a couple days now. I think the Eagles are going to use the passing game a lot. I mean, you just talked about everything that Jalen Hurts is able to do with his receivers, and we're looking at a San Francisco defense that's 20th in pass defense. They're going to create pressure and whatnot, but they're second in run defense. So if there's one play for the Eagles, I like it to be through the air. I'm going to ride and back that bet that you have right there. And anyone in the chat right now that wants to get on that, I think that's a great same game parlay. We actually do have some questions for you, Andy, while we stay on football, stay on Eagles specifically. Bullbex wants to know, Andy, should I stay away from any Miles Sanders props? He had a great game last week, but that Niner D looks too good. All right, he's kind of following up what we were just talking about. What are your takes?
I would, if you're going to play Miles Sanders, it's going to be rush attempts. I would not play him on the yards. I could see Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell having decent games because of their versatility in the passing game. This could be a game where Miles Sanders is used to kind of run into the line, like we talked about, to keep the 49ers defense a little bit honest. This is just not a good game script for him. I expect him to be under this like 3.5, maybe 3 yards a carry. Yeah, Miles Sanders is not a person I want anything to do with props this weekend.
Yeah, his line is 14.5 right now on FanDuel for attempts and 50.5 for rushing yards. But I like where your eye is, Andy, on that one. Okay, Ghosted has another football question. This time we're looking at a little bit of a teaser. Is it a good spot to tease Cincinnati and San Fran? This is like one of the only times we see a conference championship game this close in spread.
I like teasing the Bengals. I mean, this is a team that has done really well against Kansas City, and this matchup the last 3 times has been a 3-point game between the Chiefs and the Bengals, and that's with a healthy Patrick Mahomes. And now Mahomes may be putting on a nice show walking down the steps off of a stage, and okay, he's a full participant in practice. But when you've got Cincinnati Bengals linemen diving at your feet and trying to escape the pocket, it's a whole different animal. I like Cincinnati even if Mahomes is healthy. And don't forget, I mean, this is not guaranteeing that Patrick Mahomes is going to finish out this game. One bad hit to the ankle, and this could be a real problem. So I do like teasing Cincinnati. For San Francisco, my personal opinion is that the Eagles win this game. I think they have gone on the road twice with Brock Purdy. One was to Seattle, one was to the Raiders where Jared Stidham was the quarterback. Playing at Philadelphia in the playoffs is a whole different animal. This would not surprise me if Brock Purdy finally came back to earth a little bit. And I've been a Brock Purdy and San Francisco believer. I've played them quite a bit on this winning streak. I am not going to tease the 49ers because if a team is going to win by 2 scores, I think it's Philly. I think there are better spots to go after than San Francisco on the tease. So I do not give my blessing. That being said, I'm not right all the time. If you are a believer that Brock Purdy can handle this, go for it. For me, no, I'm not teasing San Francisco.
All right, we got a couple more questions here in the comments right now. Teasing the NFL says thoughts on Brown or D. Smith, Devontae Smith, anytime touchdown, or sorry, Donovan Smith. I'm not Donovan Smith, Devontae Smith. I'm getting
Devontae
confused
Smith.
here. We got too many Eagles players going around. I got an offensive tackle that I'm throwing out. What are your thoughts on anytime touchdown for these 2 receivers?
Yeah, I think if you only want to pick one, you can do AJ Brown. He's the bigger target, and that's kind of the receivers that have had success in the playoffs. We talked about CeeDee Lamb and we talked about DK Metcalf. So I would lean more towards AJ Brown. That being said, they're both plus money. You can sprinkle both of them, and if one of them hits, you turn a little profit. If they both hit, now you're looking at a really, really good one. And don't sleep on Dallas Goedert. Don't forget Dalton Schultz cashed his touchdown prop. He was the first touchdown for the Cowboys last week on a really, really well-designed play to the tight end. So if we like Jalen Hurts to throw touchdown passes, yeah, I think Brown and Smith are good plays. Lean A.J. Brown.
I like that plus 155 right now on FanDuel. Dallas Goddard plus 190. Really, you can get an anytime touchdown at plus money for every single player in this game, aside from Christian McCaffrey. I'm actually riding McCaffrey anytime touchdown just because it's been a lock. The line's shifting now to at minus 130, so it's not a great number. But if you can get it on some books at 120, that's kind of where I'm eyeing here. Andy Lang, before we let you go, let us know what you have going on at WagerTalk.com.
Megan, for the last few months, the 5% NFL plays have been the bread and butter of what we've done. We're 19-8 this season on NFL 5% plays. We're up over 50 units, I believe, on those plays so far this season. And we're going for number 20 just this season, this weekend. So encourage everyone to go grab that and be a part of it. They've been fantastic. We've hit our last two. So looking forward to win number 20 on NFL 5% plays. That's a big one we got this weekend.
Andy Lang, the prop god, we appreciate you coming on here at Last Call and answering all the NFL questions, talking a little same game parlays. I'm excited to back your parlay that you got for us. Thank you again for joining us. Have a great night. All right, it's time to talk a little NHL. We got some NFL action in, some college basketball. We're seeing a lot of love in the comments. And now it's time to bring in an NHL expert. That is Carmine Bianco, our first time working together. So I'm excited for him to join the show. Welcome on to Last Call here at Wager Talk. I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, Megan. I love watching your NFL props on Wager Talk today. So hopefully I can build off that with some NHL and maybe a couple NHL free props at the end of it for tonight's action.
Well, while we get the audience to get into the live chat, get some questions in. I know you're already eyeing a game tonight. That's Capitals Penguins. What's your take for this one?
Yeah, you look at this game and neither one of these teams is playing well right now, which is probably why they sit in seventh and eighth in those two wild card spots. And they've got Florida, Buffalo, and the Islanders lurking right behind them. And there's 30 plus games left. If these teams don't pick it up and don't pick it up quickly, they could easily one or both can find themselves on the outside looking in come playoff time. This line, when it opened up overnight, I thought came in light. It came in at 115 for Washington. I thought it should be a little higher than that. And it's taken some money throughout the day. It got up to about 130 about 2 or 3 hours ago. And then just a little while ago, there was some 135s on the Wager Talk live lines feed, which is always a great place to see what the books in Vegas and a couple offshores are hanging. A little buyback on Pittsburgh since, but I think it's the fact that bettors look at Pittsburgh and they see the goaltending issues with this team. Tristan Jarry injured yet again. Casey DeSmith in goal. He's been shelled his last two games. He's allowed 11 goals in his last two games, and in his last 8 games, he's allowed 5 or more goals in 3 of them. This is an issue that Pittsburgh has this year. It's an issue that Pittsburgh had last year going into the playoffs with their goalies always ending up on the injury list, and they got bounced from the playoffs last year because they were basically down to their 3rd and 4th emergency goalies, and they were held together by duct tape. It's what us men do. We think we can repair things with duct tape, and that's what happened with this Pittsburgh team. You've got Ovechkin coming back, who came back in the last game against Colorado from an injury, and with him back in the lineup, that power play is a lot better as well too. They've got a very favorable schedule after the All-Star game, so they're going on All-Star game in mid next week, the break. But I think they kick it off with the win tonight. It's only minus 130, and I like that price on the Washington Capitals tonight.
Carmen, I want to look at this just from a broader picture. There are a couple of people in the comments asking this, and I've actually wondered this. What are keys to winning and being successful betting on hockey as a whole?
I think it's obviously the visual test. I think the more games you watch, the better feel you get for a team. But you've got to look at scheduling. I do a lot of advanced scheduling in the NHL, looking at teams to see like their next 8 to 10 games. Are there back-to-backs? Are there 2 games or 3 games in 4 nights? If they've got an ideal travel schedule where they've got 4 or 5 games at home as opposed to East Coast teams traveling to the West Coast. And I'll get to that in a second with couple of the angles that I do like. And then some teams just have, after having a brutal first half of the season, have an easier schedule. The Edmonton Oilers are one. Their last 40 games, 19 of them are going to be played against the bottom 4 teams in the East and the bottom 5 teams in the West. It's a recipe for a team that's playing well to win a bunch of games. It didn't start off well for them yesterday. They played Columbus and lost 3-2 at home in OT, but it's a game in which the final analytical numbers favored Edmonton. And you can find those numbers at, there's a site called Natural Stat Trick, and you can find the analytical numbers post game to see if a team that lost the game should have won based on analytical numbers, which are an important part of it. But scheduling is a big part of it. West Coast teams traveling to East Coast and then coming back to the West, or vice versa. If it's a 3 or 4 game, series of games that they're on this road trip and they travel back home, they have one off day before they play a game, I will normally fade them in that first game home off a long road trip. It's been very profitable this year, and I think it'll continue to as the grind of the NHL season continues. I think it's that's something that you need to look at. Even the best of teams, like the Colorados and the Bostons, will go east to west coast for 3 or 4 games, come home, and then just look absolutely flat.
I mean, here's the thing. If you want to get into the NHL at all, Carmine, you are one of the best in the business. So anyone that's listening in the chat right now, this is the time then to go and follow Carmine's plays at wagertalk.com. Go onto his Twitter. I want to talk about the big game tonight, which is the Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the Boston Bruins. This has gotten juiced a little bit. The Bruins were minus 104, and now it's been moved up to minus 120. You can still get it at 114 in some books. But what are you looking at? Any leans that you have for this one tonight?
Yeah, I played the Bruins. And listen, we always talk about, and Teddy Covers talks about this. Don't try and catch a falling knife. And you look at Tampa Bay, and I get it. Tampa Bay has won 10 straight games on home ice, but equally as good are the Boston Bruins, who have gone 9-0-1, one overtime loss in their last 10 road games. And they're just playing phenomenal hockey right now. This is a team that opened up about 25-1 to win the Stanley Cup. They're about plus 450 right now. Allmark is having a Vezina trophy season. He's like 20, I think he's 25-2-1 with the goals against average under 2. They're just playing phenomenal hockey with obviously a new coach for that team. And I just love the way this team is playing. And if a team is going to end that win streak on home ice, on Tampa's home ice, it's going to be a team like the Boston Bruins, who have a streak of their own. This team hasn't lost very, very many games this season, and I like them to win tonight.
Let's switch gears here. Little soccer comments. We got a couple questions here, but just overall approach when betting soccer. Oh, wait, we got the question right now. We'll go to this one first. We'll get your general thoughts, and then we'll go into some of the main questions.
So with regards to this, well, I'll answer overall in soccer first, and then I'll answer this question. It's the same thing. I literally spend hours on weekend. As much football as you're watching on a Sunday, Megan, I am watching probably about 12 to 15 hours of soccer on a Saturday. Right from the very first game from the EPL in England at 7:30 Eastern time in the morning till mid to late afternoon, and I'm PVRing some games because I need to see how teams are playing to get a better idea of it. I don't think it's a sport that you can totally rely on XG numbers. I think you need to, much like the NHL, you need to be in tune with teams, their injuries, who will be starting this week. Again, their schedule. If they have 3 games in 7 days, you know that the weakest of the 3 games is likely where they are going to rest some players, and you get the starters in the other games. It's where you can sometimes fade a team that might be the better team in a game, but they're not starting their strongest 11. It's almost like the load management in the NBA, where you find out that the Kawhi Leonard is taking the night off, and the line goes from -7 down to a pick 'em.
Exactly. And so here's the specific question that we were going to go into is teasing the NFL asks, do you think that Manchester United takes it easy in their second EFL Cup game?
I don't, and the reason for this is that, much like I just explained, in their first game, they had which happened, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday. They had their best, I think it was on Wednesday, their best starting 11 in there, and I expected it to be because this weekend they play on an FA Cup game. It's not the Premier League is off for a couple of weeks. They play an FA Cup game, and they're at home against Reading. Um, they can essentially play their bench, empty their bench in this game, maybe one or two starters, and they're going to win that game. If they're in trouble, they can always bring in their starters for the last 30 to 45 minutes. But it's a game in which I expect them to win. I expect them to win handily, which means we're going to see their regulars back in. Man United hasn't won a trophy in 5 years since the 2017 Europa League, where they beat Ajax, and with their new manager Ten Hag, they won a trophy. And this is the EFL Cup is right now their best chance. This is the semifinals. They'll take care of business, get into the finals, likely against Newcastle, and hopefully lift their first trophy of the season.
Got some love in the comment section. Lisa saying, great job, Carm. But Carm, okay, so real quickly, I think that we are not giving enough appreciation. You talked NHL and you're very humble here. But let me just let you guys know, Carmine is on an insane NHL streak right now. He's 19-5 in the last 7 days. He has 3 plays loaded tonight at WagerTalk.com. So if you want to get in on some NHL action, Carmine's your guy. Go on to WagerTalk.com. Make sure you go give him a follow over there on Twitter. We appreciate you coming on the last call for our very second episode of this show and appreciate all of your knowledge in NHL and soccer.
Thank you for having me on. It was fun.
Thank you, guys. And we appreciate everyone here that's looking at all of the bets here tonight. This is going to be a show that we do weekly at Wager Talk. It's going to be Saturdays as well at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Make sure you guys are thinking ahead. We always have a great panel of handicappers joining us, and questions are always welcome. We appreciate everyone joining us today. Make sure you stay tuned. We'll be here Saturday morning.